Willie D Live.
It's Willie D, y'all, back with another episode of information and instructions to help you navigate through this wild, crazy, beautiful world. In the studio, Too Short. What's up, King?
What's up, man?
Hey, man, 40 years in the game and you not joking. Sir Too Short coming straight from Oakland. Man. It seems like you've done it all and seen it all, but you still seem hungry. Seems like you still got that thirst.
I mean, I'm a music man. I got some advice at a point in my career. I was probably like 30 years old, and that was at the time, when we come up, the first ageism in hip hop said if you're a 30-something-year-old rapper, you an old ass rapper. That was way back in the 90s.
Right.
And then we got past that, and now we easily in our 30s, 40s, and 50s successful rappers and hustling rappers. But I just think, man, the advice that I was given was like, till the wheels fall out. Why would you stop? Why would you, retire? Why would you walk away from something that's a good thing? And I just took it as that. I was like, okay, I'm looking at rap like it's my job. When it's time to retire, the job is gonna let me know.
Right.
And so far, if I'm standing out on stage and there's thousands of people yelling and screaming and the phone keeps ringing and it's promoters with thousands of dollars, why am I sitting at home saying, no, I don't want to do this anymore, I'm too old or something? I'm like, what other job do I want to do? I don't want to do another job. I don't want to work in the warehouse or get up with the alarm clock. I ain't with all that.
Man, you took that first album title literally. Like you were serious about that. Don't stop rapping. Like, you got 21 albums out there, man.
I mean, think about the Too Short album covers. I take them all seriously.
Yeah.
Born to Mac. Serious.
Born to Mac, my favorite, my all-time favorite.
Yeah,
I know that was other ones that did bigger numbers, but that was my album. That was my real, true introduction to Too Short.
That's the Too Short I'm about to become. That's me getting it together. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's the direction. I'm like, this is where I'm going with this. So yeah, Born to Mac is very important to my career. I've had a lot of rappers younger than me come to me and say, just looking at the album cover, listening to some of the songs on that album was inspirational for them. So, that's how we do it.
Man, I used to have this white kid that was trying to sign to me, and I didn't sign him. The guy sounded like, if there's such a thing, a white Too Short. I couldn't wait for him to get on and introduce him to you. Like, this dude was like fly. A little young 15-year-old dude was super fly, but he couldn't get it together, man, with his personal life.
Right.
The girls,
Well, the pimping is not exclusive to one race, man. Anybody could be on either end. The pimp, trick, hoe, whatever. This is not a racial thing.
Right. But I want to back up a little bit what you was talking about, that ageism thing in hip hop. I remember, like, at the time we were coming up, 30 years was cut off, and they really try to shame you if you're 30 years old rapping. Like, 30
it was a bad thing.
Yeah, you over the hill at 30. And now, we got rappers who are in their 50s putting out records, and some of them are really catching hell, like when it comes to this so-called imaginary line that you can't cross in terms of age. Why do we do our thing that we created like that? I mean, we created all of it, but hip-hop is the newest thing that we created. Why do we try to do that to our artists? We don't do it to rock and roll. We don't do it to R&B. We don't do it to the pop singers, the folk singers, jazz, the Christian singers. Why do we do that to hip-hop?
I think... jazz to me is probably the closest genre to us as far as swag is concerned. Like the coolest guys on the block, the jazz guys were the hip hop kind of guys, and when they were first starting and coming out young, they were the bad guys. Right. They did drugs and they talked slick and didn't really conform to society and did what they wanted to do. So I think as they aged, because I look at the blues guys and the jazz guys and the R&B guys, and as they age, they kind of just wear their gray hair and keep on blowing the horn, and nobody says anything. And they get better because they're getting older and more experienced. And I think hip-hop, we're just so literal, man. Like, we carried a little bit more of that street thing with us, and we just kind of, I don't know. We're just ruthless, man. Hip hop, I don't think because jazz was all about battling. The blues, they would battle. The musicians would battle and stuff. And I think with hip hop, we're just ruthless, man. It was just like, I'm the best, you not, and this, we just kind of like to drag each other just in the name of the sport called hip hop. So I think hip hop does what it wants to do. I think that as far as the ageism goes, when a Puff Daddy gets older and a Dr. Dre gets older and a Nas gets older and, and Too Short and E40 and Fat Joe's, we get older, we don't want to stop. So it's like no matter what our opinions were when we were 30 and 20 or whatever, it changes, man. It changes, and I think hip hop hasn't been around long enough to see the change permanently. So now we're seeing that. I'm on a tour right now with Warren G, Snoop Dogg, myself, Wiz Khalifa. Everybody's like family, man. They got kids, and Snoop Dogg got grandkids, man. He out there rocking that crowd. Ain't nobody granddaddy in hip hop rock the crowd like that. So we just getting there. We're on the threshold. It's being proven. When I went out with my Westmore, my man E40, he 30-something years of marriage. Ice Cube, same thing, Snoop and Cube, grandparents and stuff, you know what I'm saying? It's like, and we rocking the crowd, though. I'm not trying to down nobody on age. I'm saying we rocking that crowd, just like we did 30 years ago. So I don't think hip-hop has permanently inked that. Like, hey, man, I know a dude that was 62 that was rocking it. Like, we getting there.
Yeah, we are getting there. Mm-hmm. And you finally got there with a new child, man. Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm a late bloomer on fatherhood, but it was the time.
Yeah, you were 54, right? When
I was 52 when my daughter was born, and I was, I didn't. I'm gonna say it like this. I didn't go out there trying to. I'm gonna make a baby now. I just, things happen in life, and I'm proud to say that my daughter was born from love, and not like a young rapper or something. Just like hit that thing and got a baby mama. It was, and you can see it in the child, Yeah. And I'm not on the road a neglectful father. You know what I'm saying? I'm not like that. I'm like at an age where I'm so mature that I embraced it, and I'm trying to be the best I can be at that. If I would have been a father 30 years ago, I don't know how Short Dog would have handled that, man. I would have been like, I had a little baby mama section or something. I don't know. I avoided that though on purpose back then. Maturity, bro.
A baby mama section.
Yeah,
That's a real thing. I bet you that's a real thing.
Put them on their own tour bus and traveling around with me. I would have thought of something.
Yeah. We're the same age. We're both 57 years old.
Okay.
And born in the same year, 1966.
66.
But, I often think about that, man, what would, like, a new baby, be like for me and my life, my
All right,
world.
so I tell the homies this because I'm side by side with my homies, and they all got grandkids that are older than my kid. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, just look at it like the only way you could see it look on the outside looking in is I'm like a grandfather. You know what I mean? Like when you had your first kids and you tried your best to be the father you could be, it's not as good as you can do now as a grandfather. So you like taking your kids, you like, I'm gonna do this even better this time. And I notice a lot of my homies, the men in particular, are being really good grandfathers. And there might be some men who I personally think they might not have been the best fathers from time to time, but they're flawless at grandfatherhood. So I'm a father in that same frame of mind. Get it?
That's dope.
I'm a granddaddy daddy.
A granddaddy daddy.
Yeah.
I can see that because grandparents do make the best parents. They make the best guardians, because they've seen it all, done it all, and they have the temperament now to deal with children's.
Some of them compete with the actual parents and try to do it better.
Yeah.
They try to do it better than their kids. Like, I got your kids better than you got your kids.
Right. And then sometimes the parents get jealous of the,
Exactly.
of the relationship because they be like, well, you didn't let me get away with all of that stuff, and you letting them get away with murder. That's crazy.
So,
but one of the things that concerns me, though, is that I be thinking to myself, like, will I be around to watch, like, give him or her all the game that they need to survive in this raggedy-ass world? This is a very dangerous place, a very evil place. Well, put it like this. Many people in this world are evil. The world is beautiful, but it's the people that makes it up. And so I often think to myself, would I be able to be around to watch them and to help them grow, help them develop, give them the game that they need to survive? That's the thing that scares me most than anything.
Well, that's your natural instinct to do that, but you got to be a realist and say, hey, to the best of my ability, I need to leave a roadmap. A roadmap could be verbal instructions. It could be something you left in the music. It could be something that you wrote down. It could be financial support that you leave, and like that's a tool that will help later on through all the trials and tribulations your kids or grandkids might go through. That financial might be help. You know what I mean? And then you got a lot of opportunities being older and wiser to map that out, the roadmap that you may not be hands on. And remember, if you're a 20-something-year-old parent, you literally growing up with your kids. You're not an expert parent in your 20s. You like you effing up a lot.
Yeah.
And it's just wing it while you doing it. And then at some point they get to a certain age, you're like, I know how to do this now, but it'll be a little too late sometimes. So
yeah, I think I got the financial thing covered, but it's the protection side, because I know, like...
Well, look, that's how I look at it. Leave a roadmap, man.
When Dad ain't in the picture, I know the vultures come out and they think it's sweet. And I like the idea of being able to pop up and show them something different.
Well, in my dealings with females, and I don't want to stereotype all women, but I do notice a difference in women who had that father who gave them, from birth to whenever, just gave them that security and that, that ever-present father who's like strong. And what happens is you come across women who have really good examples of men, and they expect that of you. They don't take that short dog BS or something. They know what it's supposed to be. And then if you find a lot of women, and I'm not saying all, who don't have that male guidance throughout their younger years, and they come across the bullshit out there, they kind of like, they don't know that image of what a good father is, so they look for different things in men. That's personal opinion. But I do notice that I've come across the daddy issue girls. So I went through my phase. I'm like, man, give me a girl with some daddy issues. That's all day. Give it to me. Right. And then I've went through my phase where I like a woman with a solid family foundation, because you get a different sort of mindset.
Yeah, well, you definitely don't get the trauma that's usually associated with that.
Yeah, so I don't want to categorize everybody, but it's out there, and you can take it how you want, but I witnessed it firsthand, Yeah. So I think that...
Are you trying to be politically correct?
I'm just trying to, like, keep little outs. Because, I talk shit. Talking shit is my job. But people are so sensitive about these one-liners. Yeah. And you just kind of like... The one-liners that hurt people, you got to give a little disclaimer while you do it. Like, right. I'm hurting you, but I'm excluding you. So fall in where you want to fall in. But it's true, man. Women, they embrace it themselves. They come in the door talking about, I don't know if you can handle me. I got daddy issues. And they tell you right off the rip. Yeah. It's about to go down. But
don't you think that, I hear a lot of times we talk about women with daddy issues, but don't a lot of us men have daddy issues too?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Either way. I mean, if you get into the black community, man, we deal with a lot of family parameters that affect us, man, and we are now talking about the mental health issues that are in our community, but for a long time we wouldn't. In the hip hop community, we would not discuss that shit. We just do it. We just go through it, So it's a good thing that we're talking about it. But I think a lot of us black men are damaged. They even you can't really blame the fathers before us. Because look what they up against. Look what we up against, our generation. It's the same thing. We the guys who come out of the 80s. We like guinea pigs to the American judicial system. And then even before us, we were losing our fathers to, whatever could cause a divorce, the strains of financial things that were happening to inner city families. We, just now with the after effects of what we saw happen in the 80s with I call it mass incarceration. I think it was a crime against us. I don't think the crack epidemic was the black community and the Latino community out of control, taking advantage of selling drugs to our own community. I think it was all one big setup. You know what I mean? And no matter how you go around the story, you point this, and this happened, coming from the 80s to the 90s. What really happened was we locked up about 2 million people, and we broke a lot of families. And now you truly see the after effect when these men are coming home in their 40s and 50s. They've been gone since they was teenagers and young 20s and stuff. And you just see all the kids who never had a father, or who had a father who went to prison or murdered, and a mother who got strung out or prison or something like that. And it's just, you see what it did. And yeah, we got daddy issues, man, a lot of us.
You know, the government truly are agents of chaos. What they do is they create chaos and then they swoop in and play the hero. Mm-hmm. And that's what they did with welfare. That's what they did. Well, let me go all the way back. Let me go to slavery. That's what they did with slavery. That's what they did with Reconstruction. That's what they did with redlining. That's what they did with mass incarceration, the crack cocaine. The government created all of these social constructs. Mm-hmm. And then they let it get out of control. And especially when you start thinking about like the crack situation. They brought this is documented, it ain't a claim, this is documented. The government brought the drugs into the neighborhood, brought the drugs into the hood, and then allowed the guns to come in and said, okay, now y'all go for it. They know what's going to happen. They know.
And then they rewrote the laws so that if you have those two things that we gave you.
And then if you do it, then we're gonna lock you up. Y'all gonna for those of you who survive, we're gonna lock you up, and we're gonna take away your freedom. We're gonna take away your rights or whatever you have, and then we're gonna take out your kids, and then we're gonna handle your kids for you.
My problem is the fathers who got locked up. They figured it out at some point as they sat in these jail cells, and they like, holy shit, I got swindled. Like they realized, my young thug life and my crack dealing 5 years of on top of the world, it was a setup. It was a straight setup. And before we could even get that warning, we could hear that warning, hey, don't do what I did, it's too late. We got the homies out here. Man, I'm thugging till I die. They tatted up everywhere. And it's like, the I'm thugging thing to me is such a major part of the brainwashing to continue the mass incarceration. You don't really have to do much to get these brothers to go to jail. Just let them thug it out, man. Thug it out. I'm thugging out. I'm throwing it up, and it's like, Brody, if you doing that shit for a fast track, one-way fast track to the prison sentence, man, you're in the trap. The trap. Like, bro, what you doing there? I'm about to go to the trap and get my money. Bro, you going to the trap to get trapped, motherfucker. Right. Like, I just wish that the brothers who did 28 years, 35 years, I wish that they could be heard by the young brother who is about to be a thug. And but they don't want to hear that shit.
Heard because,
they don't want to hear that shit.
They're going to feel like you ain't got nothing. They really don't listen to you unless you got money. I don't care what you do. Like you can be a person that's trying to save the world. They're gonna see how you dress. They're gonna see what you're driving. And if you ain't got that,
I'm a hypocrite if I say, young homie, that thug shit is a swindle, man. Don't do it. They're like, well, what'd you do when you was young? I was like, I was thugging. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like, nigga, what's the difference? So it's hard to get the message across, man. But I swear that is like something that eats away at me daily. Is I wish that there was something that I could do, we could do that's loud enough to just shock the homies and go, bruh, I'm telling you right now, man, if it's a race, we both 20 years old, and you hard on the boulevard in the streets, I promise you that little nerd nigga is going to be past you by the time he's 40, 45. He's going to be so far past you, you're never going to catch him. And he's going the square-ass executive route. He's really going to live a better life than you. And you winning right now with the thugging and the pull in the streets, but it's not going to last long. So I don't know how to get that across, man. I put as much of it in the music as possible, little by little. I've been doing it since I was young, but I just feel like the preaching voice is not the answer. And I don't mean preachers. I mean all of us preaching. Somehow it's got to be something that gets that I want to go to a HBCU. I want to start my own business. I want to be successful. Something's got to feed that more than feeding, I want to run the block, you know?
They got to see it, because they're we're type of people that we from what's it, Missouri, the show me state?
Yeah.
That's us.
Yeah.
We're the show me race. They got to see it. I want to go back to what you said about not really can't blame the brothers from back in the day that got caught up. I know what you mean, but I just want to clarify for the people who out there saying, yeah, see what I'm saying? Well, black men don't take responsibility. Yes, they absolutely trapped us. Yes, every single time they come up with this program, a program at least every 10 to 15 years to further subjugate us, to further hold us back. They do this purposely. They have think tanks. How can we hold black people back? How can we stop them? What can we do? This is why when black people make it, we're literally superheroes, because they have every trap you can think of, they've set them for us not to make it. But when you look at welfare, when the government created welfare so that for two reasons. One, so that they could remove the black man out of the house. Two, so that they could destroy the black family. Now, of course, they gave white folks welfare too, but they had a man in the house rule, meaning that no man could be inside of the house, but they would be more lenient when it came to white households. So the white woman was able to keep her man in the house, and they wouldn't enforce it. But when it came to the black woman, they'd make sure they make an example out of her if they found a man inside of that house. So we left voluntarily. We left the house. And because our women was given a hell of a choice, bro. It's like, take this money and feed these babies and have somewhere to live, or stay with your man and everybody starved. So that's a hell of a choice. And we had a hell of a choice to make also, and we chose to leave. We could have stayed.
You described it.
We could have said, you know what, fuck what y'all saying. I don't give a fuck what y'all saying. I know what you're doing. I'm not going for it. And some of our men did stay. Many of our men did stay, but the others did not. So we got to take that L on that.
You describing the movie Claudine, bro. Claudine with James Earl Jones.
Oh,
and Claudine had all the kids.
Right,
and the social worker come over. They got to hide the TV, hide the toaster.
Right.
And he got to hide in the closet. It's like you can't.
That was a good one.
He was a garbage man who was just buying stuff for his chick, and they like, you can't buy that for her. You can't even be here. You're right about that. That was in the 70s.
Right. Wasn't that black and white?
Nah, that was a color movie. It was in color.
I know it was old.
But it was like mid-70s.
I remember.
It might have been early 70s, mid-70s. But it's the same you just described. If you go back and watch the movie, you could see that same scenario taking place when we was little kids. Yeah. And it only got worse as we got older.
Man, you're a very accomplished artist, accomplished man. You're insightful. How come you don't talk more?
Well, I speak when I speak. I don't shy away from any platforms or any subjects when I'm on different platforms. I just haven't been that activist voice, and I think that I come from an activist place, Bay Area.
Yeah.
Where you speak out, be proud. Nobody's afraid to fight for the little guy or fight for what's right. I'm always lending my support to different causes, especially like local causes in the Bay. But at the same time, man, I'm leery, black man, kind of leery of the way your actions are twisted in the media and stuff. And I kind of just been that guy who I do. I don't really I don't say it. I just do it. So the stuff that I do, the causes that I support, I never get a media person a PR person to promote that, or I don't need to be my name stamped on what I champion. I just do it, man. I just do it because I really truly believe in it, and I put a lot of what I believe in the music because I think that that's where my strength was getting people to listen to me through music. So I'm not above going on the lecture circuit right now, or even like joining onto some political platform, but I really don't have strong national politics. I don't lean either way because I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. Of course, I voted for Barack Obama, but I don't really see the Republicans are better than Democrats and Democrats are better than Republicans. I keep seeing that both get voted in throughout my lifetime, and shit just gets worse. So you know what I'm saying?
Talk to me, King.
So I really do believe in local politics. It really irritates me when I hear of the local political corruption in different cities and stuff. And I know that that for our people, a lot of what could make it better has to do with local politics. And then I got really close to local politics at a certain time in my life, and I was like, ew, this is terrible. Like, can you believe these motherfuckers are pimping the kids, pimping the sick, pimping the elderly, pimping everything just for the kickbacks and controlling funds and controlling grants and shit. And it's like, man, I can't believe, like, politics is some pimp shit, some real pimp shit. So I don't have a real taste for jumping in that arena and just rubbing elbows, and I don't like it. And I look at the brothers, you outspoken brothers, man. Y'all get them headlines. Mm-hmm. Say that shit in the headline. They try to crucify you, but you strong brothers, man. Y'all stand up and come back at them again. But they come for you the next day.
Yeah. But you know what? I'm okay with that, though. That's just me speaking selfishly, you know, like, because I know you know what type of dude you are.
And I'm proud of you with your voice, man. I really am. I've been following you all these years. You've been speaking out.
Appreciate it.
For real.
Yeah, but I just know that you're a sharp dude, and you have to be sharp to make the kind of music that you've been able to make over the years. Like, oftentimes when people are talking about these top lyricists, this top lyricist, that, they fail to mention Short Dog. They fail to mention Too Short. Do you think that could be the result of some of your freaky tales being getting out there so much more than the more social stuff that you do?
I look at it like it's a fast food attitude, man, fast food appetite. And people got that fast food appetite. They're like, this is good right now. And I always saw, you know, early on when I came in the door, I mean, you got to tell me you can relate to this. When I came in the door, they said, he ain't that good. And I was getting wonderful results from my fans. But the media said, he's not that good. And I read these reviews over and over again. As they were telling me I was dropping albums, they're like, you're not that good. This product is not that good. And I'm sitting there going, why do 1 million people like what I do and only 500,000 people like what you said was good? And I couldn't understand, you know, why they were shooting me down. And then I was like, you know what? Let me just bypass the negative opinions and the media in general and just do it for the fans, man. So I have given myself so many Grammys, you know what I'm saying? So many top five MCs. I've grabbed my hand and reached over my shoulder and said, that's a good job, and pat myself on the back so many times. It's much better than practicing a speech that you're giving me some award that I don't need that, man. The people awarded me so many times. I have watched artists, you know, can't even, you know, the favorites, they can't even step into the crowd and say, what's up, my people, I love you. They can't. They need like an army to do it. I have been blessed to, you know, walk into a crowd of strangers that I never met before, and, you know, when some other guy would probably get his neck broken, all his jewelry stolen, they just be like, Short Dog, man, I love you, man. My auntie love you, man. Short Dog, you know. And I think that's better than a Grammy, to be able to walk amongst your people, to go to the Mardi Gras, New Orleans, a wild-ass city, and just walk the streets, and no little wild New Orleans niggas whipping out guns on you or trying to rob you. They sitting there going, man, I love your music. Like, I love coming to a city like Houston and going to the most craziest clubs that motherfuckers be like, man, you really going there? I'm like, man, that's why I'm performing at night and get nothing but love. So I love the real street Grammy, you know what I mean? You know, we used to, independent, we used to call 100,000 independent sales, we call that ghetto gold. You know, I'm with that all day. You know, even though I've sold millions of records, I'm still mentally that ghetto gold is priceless.
Yeah. How did Mount Rushmore, Westmore come to be?
That was a whole quarantine lockdown, too much time.
Who kicked it off? Who made the call first? You?
It was E40 and his manager
Okay.
had a conversation, said, this be a dope idea. The idea came from how many shows we do together. We're always on the same bill. And it was like, it's a lot of layers to it. So 40 called Cube, 40 and Cube called me, and then they called Snoop, and it's just like a domino effect. Everybody joined in. But when you think about it, in so many ways, economically, when you think about it, you could call each one of us and negotiate a price and say, this is what I want to hire you guys to get on the show. But if you call us all four and it's just one call and you call in the group's manager, that's a way different number. Like together, everything just was more. And that's my first time being involved with a project that made millions of dollars before the shit even came out. And it was just because of who was involved. It was a group with some real savage businessmen, and everything was a deal. Everything, like the group was never a group from the start. The first fucking thing we did was Mount Westmore LLC. That was the first thing we did. It was a corporation from the start. So that's how it was handled. Everything was, from the merch to just like sponsorship shit, and like we did fucking events before the album dropped. We made millions off doing events before the shit came out. And then before the album came out, they gave us millions for the album. It was just a real smart business decision for some OG rappers. I think that it was also a good look for hip hop because, like I said, back to the ageism, you like, man, look at these OGs doing this shit like that. And you might not see on the surface all the layers of the financial benefits, but you still see like, oh, that's Snoop, oh, that's Short, that's Cube, it's big, and you think, well, if they can do it, I can do it. That's the whole thing. We talked about that too. We're like, we're gonna motivate some cats to like join forces and do some things, make some moves. It could be. So we did a little run. Went out there, got a little bank, then everybody went back to their normal life. But now we have this thing, we can get the back call and be like, y'all want to tour next year? All right, let's put together an EP, another tour. We go out and we go from being individual legendary rappers to now we like the fucking Motown Review. It's like whenever Smokey and Diana and the Temptations and the Four Tops, whenever they get that call, y'all want to tour the world again? They could be 70, 80 years old now. Some of the group members could be passed on and their nephews took their place or some shit. Nephews and nieces in the group now. But they still touring the world. And it's still a valuable tour if you get the Motown Review. How many times did the Motown Review go out since the 60s? A fucking lot. A lot. So you get to that point where joining forces is a beautiful thing. And I'm going to tell you on the reverse. So in hip hop now, the beef is magnified. The hip hop beef's magnified to the point where rappers die. A lot of rappers die. We lose a rapper back in the day. You don't lose a lot of rappers. You lose a lot now. They die all throughout the year, and it's attributed to like local shit, street shit, within the hip hop community shit. And I think that in the case of rappers, like, I'm not going to name some rappers that lost their lives. I'm going to just take, like, Jeezy and Gucci. What happens if Young Jeezy and Gucci Mane, who shared their first hit record together, Icy, So Icy. So that's both of their first hit. And that record, to my understanding, is part of the reason why they fell out, if not the single reason. After it became a hit, it was a debate on who could use it for what. It was one of them's song and the other one wanted to use it too, something. But I don't know the true story of why they fell out, but I do know that if Jeezy and Gucci Mane were partners in crime, if they were the same two dudes that was on that single for their entire careers, I just think it would have just been bigger and better for Atlanta. It would have been bigger and better for hip hop. We tuned in, 2 million people tuned in to watch them go do a versus because we thought they was going to get violent, or we wanted to see what was going to happen. Like, man, Gucci first Jeezy, you know what I mean? And really, I was looking at it like the whole time, I was like, damn, what if them dudes have been making records all this time? How many hits would they have made? How many tours would we have gone to see Gucci and Jeezy co-headlining? Like, it would have been a good look. And I think that some of these beefs, fast forward to younger rappers, younger than Jeezy and Gucci, who are dying. Like, you my op, and you dying. And we, like, losing these dudes who, you know, bro, what was your career about to be? Like, how was your family going to live for the next 10, 15, 20 years if you didn't die? Like, your homies who you employed, how was their kids going to be looking on Christmas and birthdays and back to school, and then y'all niggas killed each other, or one nigga killed the other nigga, and the other nigga went to jail, or whatever. And just, you lose a lot in those spur of the moment violent situations. You lose a lot. You think we lost a rapper. We lost 8 streams of income. You know what I mean?
Wow.
We lost 8 families lost, you know, financial security, bro. Come on now. And
Go ahead.
I'm just saying, these are the things that bother me, bro. I just think what Mount Westmore represented was unity, you know?
Yeah, you know what else that we lose? A lot of the youngsters lose hope.
Mm-hmm.
Because they see that youngster who made it, who's living his dream. He got out, he made it. That's the kid that they're aspiring to be, or they're at the very least they're aspiring to have his same type of success or motivation or whatever. And he gets killed like a dog in the streets. What does that do to them? They say, damn, even if I make it, I could still get killed like that. I could still end up a statistic. So that's bad all around. That's bad all around, man. When you first got into music, how did that happen? I know you was a drummer in high school at Fremont, right? In Oakland, right?
Mm-hmm.
So was that the beginning? I would think at 17 you put out your first album at 17, right?
Like 18, somewhere
17,
in there.
18,
Mm-hmm.
okay. And you did that independently?
Mm-hmm.
Was that 75 Girls?
75 Girls. So
that was your label?
No, the owner of 75 Girls is the one who taught me how to do that. Guy named Dean Hodges, he taught me how to do that.
Yeah.
And the next label, Dangerous Music, that was my label.
Yeah, okay. 75 Girls. Who else did they have signed at the time?
It was a couple of artists on the label, but my stuff was what was really generating the income. And my man Dean, who owned the label and ran it, he just believed in like helping a lot of people, man. He was a guy who couldn't rap. He couldn't make beats. He wasn't a musician, but he had the money and he had the vision. You know, sometimes you need that vision guy, and he was that guy, man. He put me around professional musicians, and he put me around the best studios with good engineers. And had he not done that, let's say if he had put me around some janky ass, my cousin could play bass a little bit at church, not the good bass player, but the one who could just barely hold a note, and fucking and they put me in some cheap ass studios, that would have been too short. Shitty musicians in cheap studios. He put me with professionals. Like Oakland and the Bay Area has a big heritage of music. You know, the Pointer Sisters and the Whispers were not from Oakland, but they was based in Oakland. And we had, you know, Larry Graham was out in the Bay, and Sly and the Family Stone and fucking Tower of Power. Like, it was a lot of success before hip-hop came along. So when hip-hop came along in the Bay, that's what we looked to. We looked to, like, the legacy that we were upholding. And it was something that you had to be proud of. So if you talk to Raphael Sadiq, Tony, and different people from the Bay who came along later, they were like, well, I had to. You know, look what they did, and then look what Too Short did, and look what Tony did. Like, you gotta, if you're the next guy up, you gotta be motherfucking in vogue. You gotta be some, and y'all got the same shit here in Houston. Same shit. Like, don't step up to the plate and represent the city wrong, because the city ain't gonna support you. So we had to do that on a certain level of acceptance, a certain level to be accepted, you know?
Yeah. You still live in Atlanta?
I do not live in Atlanta. I did 15 years of Atlanta from 1993
Damn,
to
you
2000.
make it sound like a prison sentence.
To
Damn.
2008. I mean, I
did
literally,
15 years in prison.
I love my 15 years in Atlanta. I would have stayed, but sometimes when you from where you from, home is calling. Some people don't never go back home, but I had to go back home.
You in Oakland or L.A.?
Just California, period. I had to go back. So I did L.A., I did Oakland, I do it all. I've got a lot of Bay Area people, California people in Vegas. So I got property in Vegas. I'm in Vegas. I'm a West Coast guy, man, and I miss Atlanta a lot, bro. But I had to get back to where I was from, and Atlanta was changing. It was changing and becoming what it is now, and I felt like I did my part.
Were you born in L.A.?
I was born in L.A., grew up in the Bay.
Man,
But I spent a lot of time in New Orleans. I spent a lot of time in Atlanta, so I've got homes.
I ran across this girl a few months ago. I don't even remember her name or anything. I don't even remember where we was, but she started talking about you and talking about, Too Short ain't from no Los Angeles, from Oakland, Too Short from some. I can't even remember the city she named, but she said some city.
LA. I never
she
lived
said
in no.
somewhere in the South. Have you ever lived in the South?
Oh, people say that I'm from either like Hornville or Edgar, Louisiana, little towns outside of New Orleans.
Uh-huh.
And I spent a lot of summers there, a lot
of family out there.
Yeah, and I've been there so much as a kid, and then once I got famous and got money, I'm gonna run back to all my little, upbringing spots, and I ran back there, and I ran them little dirt roads and river roads and all that shit, and you got people who argue with you and go, nah, I've been knowing him since he was a little ass boy, and he's from here. So, as much as I'm that West Coast kid, I'm really, really, my daddy's from Jackson, Mississippi, and my mama's from New Orleans, and I'm really cut like that too.
Yeah.
So when you talk about, I was talking to Master P, and I was like, P, I had a little cheat code, man. I was moving around as a kid. So when I got to make music, I knew that New Orleans danced a little different, and it was a little different. I was trying to make my music so that they would like it, and they would like it out there and where I was at. So I always knew about music, man. I was always a student of music.
Man, I got a confession to make to you. When I kicked it with you out in Atlanta at your crib, and we talked about various things, and then we went by the studio, and you was playing your new music. I can't remember what song it was, but this is after you signed with Jive. Mm-hmm. And that damn bass was going so hard. That bass was just, I was like, man, I want that bass. I want it. I was trying to get that bass, man, but never could. I should have just asked you, man, hey, man, send me a sample of that bass. But that damn bass, bro, you done busted some speakers, bro.
That was my intention. Yeah. From the first time I got in the studio, my intentions were, what would make a speaker blow out? Literally. Yeah. Like, I remember a guy at the gas station. I'm pumping gas, he's pumping gas. And his car is clearly got some damaged speakers. And he's angry with me. He don't even know me. He's angrily telling me, you made me fuck my speakers up. And I'm sitting there back at him going, nigga, that's my fucking job. Like, like, we're going to fight at this gas station or something? Because I did my job. If your car playing raggedy right now because you was playing too short, too loud, mission accomplished. So I did that on purpose. I've argued with studios engineers early on. I was being taught to turn the bass down. And I was sitting there like, a little kid in the studio, confused, like, why are you telling me this? Because I know what I wanted to do. I wanted to hurt the woofers. And it's like, well, you can't do that. And I'm like, so I'm in the studio. I remember one of the first sessions I ever had, I'm like, it's like one of those songs like Freaky Tales or something, and I'm arguing with the engineer. The kick drum is on track 1, and I keep turning it up a little bit, and he keep turning it down. I'm like, bro, stop doing that. He's like, you can't do that. I'm like, yes, I can. And I'm sitting there arguing with the fucking engineer about the bass. I'm like, we're gonna kill this shit, bro. Like, turn it up. Freaky Tales, the bass is too loud, bro. Like a lot of them songs, Dope Fiend beat the bass. It's too loud. Did that shit on purpose.
Boy, that is some incredible.
And then
music,
it's the
man.
sound selection.
Yeah.
You know, what is your bass line sound? What is your kick drum sound? And are they gonna cancel each other out? You gotta know how to let the bass breathe. I'm really good at that kind of shit.
How much of that production did you do?
I'm the guy making all the beats early on. I always had some help. You know, one of my homies had an 808, and he brought the 808. And, you know, we sitting there doing whatever we do. But I'm the guy who would even when I worked with the professional musicians, I'm like, let me program the drums, and then let me lay like a little funky bass line, and then y'all take over and put some guitar and shit on it. But a lot of times it was just I would make a beat and put a bass line on it and maybe some weird ass little sound or something to go with it. I'd be like, it's done. Like, go listen to Dope Fiend beat. That's me. It's just
Man, that's you. That's all you.
The whole beat. So look,
Dope Fiend
look
beat.
what I do. Like the song
that might
come
be
on.
The coldest, man.
The song come on. I just hit one note. It go. Bang. I just hold it. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, just let it play, man. They thought I was crazy in the studio. They thought I was crazy. But I'm like, just let it play, bro. I grew up on that Parliament Funkadelic shit. Like, there's always a way to make it funky, man. Like, always a fucking way. You can just hold one note. That motherfucker's funky, man. Like, just if it's the right note.
Yeah.
So I understand the funk. I was a 4th, 5th, 6th grader. On my father's, like, you know, expensive stereo system, listening to Parliament Funkadelic in the headphones. So I'm in the headphones and I'm studying Parliament. That's like going to fucking college to be a symphony conductor or some shit. That shit is very educational. Listening to some Bootsy, some Parliament, some Funkadelic, and all the various groups that George put out, and how he would have multiple sounds just panned all over the place, and how he would put it together. Because if you look back on technology at the time of the 70s, they really were working with like 24 tracks probably at the most. It wasn't like endless tracks like we got now, and you had to be creative. So when I got in the studio for the first time, I never had 48 tracks. We graduated to 24, but the early Too Short shit, we were working with 16 tracks. And it's limited when you get to stacking vocals and doing different sounds and shit. But I could make a dope ass song with 8 tracks. Mm-hmm. Like I heard Manny Fresh saying that shit when he first started. They had them 8 tracks. You better make them bitches work, boy. Ain't no 9th track. So what you gonna do with 8? You gonna make some funk.
Man, how was it touring with NWA?
That was my. I always relate that to like losing your virginity. Like going on that Straight Outta Compton tour was like losing your virginity night after night, because every crowd that saw me on that tour was seeing me for the first time. Every city I went to on that tour, I was going there for the first time, and we was like meeting each other like, you know, like virgins. like this shit is good. You know what I mean? So I could never top that. I could never top the feeling that I got from night after night, seeing, you know, arenas sold out and just, you know, just getting the love like that, man. Like we went everywhere on that tour. And then, you know, the shit is like summer camp, man. You know, you're 19, 20 years old and you're out on the road, man. It's like a kid in a candy store. Just the first 3 tours I went on the tour in 89, went on another one in 90, and another one probably in 91, 92. And I was, man, I for 3 years, I was a hoe. I was a rapping rock star hoe, like just kicking it. I did all that shit. I didn't come up for air probably until I was like, you know, just about to turn 25. And then I was like, I literally like fell in love. And I was like, all right, I'm finna calm my ass down and be with my girlfriend. And I did that. How
long did it last?
I did that for a few years. How years. Long? About 3.5. I wavered a little bit, but
that's a decent run.
But that's when I moved to Atlanta after that.
Then you got buck wild.
And then I went back, I was hoeing again.
That Atlanta is a different beast
Yeah, especially back in them Freaknik days.
Yeah.
Hmm.
How does Too Short, a guy who is making these hit songs, a lot of them about promiscuity and pimping, and how do you how do you go so long without not one woman being able to get a baby out of you?
A baby. Oh man. Okay, so as a young man, I got my girlfriend pregnant in high school. Now, we couldn't go home with that kid, whatever. I don't want to say it, but we just couldn't do that. We didn't do the. We weren't teen parents. We chose not to be teenage parents. Later on, a few years later, something similar happened again, and then it happened a third time. And the third time it happened, I actually went in the room. I was called in the room. It was the procedure was complicated, and I was requested to come in the room and just hold her hand. And I did something I never should have did. I looked, and that changed me forever. I studied everything that was going as a man that I could see that was going on with her after that and during that, and it hurt me so deeply. It hurt her so deeply. I said I never want to be a part of anything like that again, where you make a child that you're not going to bring into the world. And I'm coming of age, and I'm like, that's just something I don't want to do. So I was being young and wild, and I could have had these kids at a young age. For whatever reason, I didn't. We decided not to. But then I was like, I'm not even going to make these babies, because this ain't where I want to be and who I want to be. I didn't know what that looked like or what that emotionally would look. I would kind of be detached early on, but that one time, that third time, I was completely involved, and it just changed me. And I was like, I would never put anybody in that position, myself or anybody else. So I never had a woman come to me and say I'm pregnant after that until I was 52 years old. Mm-hmm. Like, I literally didn't do anything. I didn't do the things that would make a baby. Like, you have to. I think to make a baby, you gotta like go raw, and then when you nutting, you gotta like just release your body and fall in that thing and just stay there and marinate and just let it go. You keep doing that, you're gonna have a lot of kids. And the saying, my pull-out game is weak, but how is your fathering game? So, I just definitely didn't want to have a bunch of like procedures in my past, and I definitely didn't want to have a bunch of neglected kids or those situations where those relationship situations where people have kids that don't want each other. I just didn't want that, bro. I wanted to enjoy my life. I wanted to be a rock star, and I didn't want to take anybody along for the ride in a negative way. So that was a conscious decision of mine, was to not do those things. So I just either protected myself or I avoided what I described to you as what I thought was making babies, and I tried to avoid that. Like, I talked to a lot of guys who made a lot of kids, and that's what they told me. They say, you just got to fall in that thing. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to fall out instead of in, and I'm going to be as responsible as possible.
What was your initial reaction when she told you she was pregnant?
At a young age, I kind of was this...
No, I'm talking about now. Like, you're a child that you have.
I wouldn't say disbelief. I was just shocked because I thought that I had passed that point where, I do know that men make babies in their 80s and whatever. I just thought I was not really in that area where I would be told, hey, I'm pregnant. But so, love allowed me to let my guard down, and I think, it was the right time and the right place. In the past, I thought it was a bad thing. In the past, I thought it was, you you raised like that a little bit. You know, they put this little stereotype on black man, the white guy, I'm pregnant. Oh yeah, and then the black man like, I'm pregnant. Black man like, what the fuck? You know, that's the stereotype we saw as little kids that we what I'm trying to say, we perpetuated it throughout our adulthood. I try to break that chain in my life. You know, I felt that way at a young age. We can't have this baby. Like, you know, who knows what my teenage kid would have grown up to be. I might have had a business partner or something. That kid would have been 40 years old right now. You know what I mean? And I don't know if I did the right thing or not. Like, I just didn't want to continue that cycle. So when it did happen, I was happy as fuck. I was really happy. And then I went through the scared part. Like, man, like my first time holding my baby, I was like, somebody help me. I didn't even know how to hold a baby. I didn't know anything. I didn't change a diaper for a year. Like, I was like, not touching that shit. I don't know. Like, it was fear.
Was you in the room for the delivery?
Right after.
Because you didn't want to be there? Or?
I didn't make it in time to see the birth.
All right, I gotta ask because you know everybody that's watching this is going to be like, okay, where were you?
But I didn't want to see birth. It wasn't.
Okay, so
I didn't want to watch birth.
Okay, so
and
you purposely walked in late.
I share that opinion with a lot of men and women. Like, some say they want to see it, and some say they don't.
Man, for me, it was the most. Whoo, man!
You watched?
Look, I watched. Let me tell you this, bro. Hands down, the best experience I ever had in my life was when my daughter was born. That's my oldest. That's my first. The second best experience I've ever had in my life was when my son was born. Like,
so
being
maybe
in that
I'll
room,
take your
watching
advice.
that.
I'll take your advice and watch next time.
Yeah, man.
And just see life.
That's something to see, knowing that you created
life.
You bring in life, a human being. Mm-hmm. You're responsible for that too. It's something to see. It's ooh, man, it's next level.
Okay.
It's next level emotion. Too Short legacy. What you want that to look like?
Well, you know, that's what I'm working on right now. The most is what's the story, the after story after you're not here, and I think that the legacy has a lot to do with like a lot of people say is family, and you know, the music is a legacy in itself, but then a lot of artists, and not just recording artists, but artists are like, you got to have something to go along with that. It's got to be a foundation or a cause or something that you spearheaded or that you stood up for. And I just think I've always been the giver of knowledge, man, just game. And I like to think that a lot of the people who I schooled and gave game to, helped get in the game, other people don't know what I did. And they're like, well, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. So I think at this point, man, it's about foundations. It's about philanthropy. It's about giving back. It's about, building something. So I'm definitely going to continue to do what I've been doing, but I need to do it a little louder. And as of now, that is my mission, is to figure out what is that noise that I want to make that is not a song. And, one of these things, something is going to be it. But I also believe that with a guy like me, it's going to be multiple it's. It's not going to be just one it. So, just stay tuned, man. That's why I haven't written a book or, put out the Too Short life story movie, because any story ain't over, bruh.
You got an idea for the film? The name?
People would think that I'll do a life story called Freaky Tales, but that's not really.
No, you're more than that.
Exactly.
It's gotta be bigger than that.
So,
But your title is in those songs somewhere.
Exactly.
It's in one of those songs.
The theme of my life has always been you got to know when to leave the party, because I found myself at some parties that were over, And I looked around. I'm the only nigga still in the club partying. Like, I'm with the staff party. I'm like, nigga, go home. Like,
See, I've never been that dude. I'm like, well, let me back up. When I was very young, I was that dude. But I learned that usually the later it gets, that's when people start acting a damn fool in clubs. And usually that's when the fights and shootouts happen after the club. Usually because a lot of dudes done struck out, didn't go their way, and, now they mad, and especially if you got a girl, you might have to try to, defend her honor, because some of these dudes, they don't have any type of respect for anything, including themselves. So I just noticed that a lot of drama happens in the late hours of the club, and when the club is over. So I always make sure that I leave the club before it closes.
Before it closes, yeah.
I do not close
So
the club down.
I did exactly the opposite, and I felt like if the club closed at 3 and it's 2:45, I'm thinking to myself, sad as it sounds, man, it's true. I ain't got nowhere to fucking go. Ain't nobody at home. I'm 35 years old. Ain't nobody at home. And in my thoughts of writing a book, that reoccurring theme happened a lot in my life, where I'm like, why are you here at the club? They putting the tables up on the chairs on the table, and they counting out the money and shit, and you still hanging out, laughing and kicking with the staff and drinking after the club closed. Ain't had nowhere to go, man. So it's like, it's a sad reality that I can look back on now and say, damn, well, you was smiling and shit, but it was kind of dark. But at the same time, life of a rock star, bro. People say, I want that lifestyle. They don't really know what they're getting into, you know what I mean? And partially, if I wasn't such a rock star, I would have had the time to be a young family man, you know what I mean? I was keeping myself out of that. That's why I say I never knew when to fucking lead a party, because I'm at this nighttime party. When I go home from that, as soon as I wake up, I'm calling the people, and where the daytime party at? You know what I mean? And it was kind of like you acting like I'm telling myself I'm having fun and I'm in the party, but in reality, I'm running from what I should be really doing, which is, making these beautiful human beings that would go out and carry on my legacy. You know what I mean?
But
I'm a late bloomer, Will.
Perhaps it worked out the way it did because you wouldn't have been a good father at that time, because you wasn't prepared mentally to be a good father. Perhaps you would have raised a child that hated your guts.
Exactly.
And
something.
Now you have a better chance. What you call it,
A granddaddy daddy.
Granddaddy daddy. So now you being a granddaddy daddy, you got the skills, and you can give that proper information and instructions to someone that's gonna love you and look at you like the greatest guy ever. Because you have that experience to go with that. And I got the name of your album. I mean, the name of your movie too.
What is it?
It's your life story. It's already in one of the albums. Life is Too Short.
Yes, it is.
That's it.
It is.
That's it. That's the book. That's the film. Life is Too Short. Now you got a dope title and you got your name within the title. That's it right there. This is a question that normally would be asked in the very beginning of an interview, but I wanted to ask it toward the end because I like being different. Who raised you?
Well, both of my parents were very hands-on. My grandmothers were very instrumental in my life. But a lot of what I am comes from my mother, no doubt about it. But my father was a really good example of, a success story. And I just wanted to, I had the kind of parents who were like, you're going to be something of some kind of follow through on something. You're not going to just half-ass anything, and you're not going to, settle for less. So that is what I was working with. I say I give a lot of credit to my mother, because I had one of those mothers who, she literally was a college graduate who had a career. And when she had her second kid, that's me, she quit her job for 4 years. And why'd you quit your job for 4 years? So I could nurture this kid before he goes out into the world and to kindergarten. That's when, she sent me to school.
That's that Bay mentality.
She sent me to school like pre-educated, man, and it just really helped me.
Yeah.
It really helped a lot. Like she sent me to preschool already reading books and doing math already. So it was a real, it made shit easy. It just made shit easy. So I think that's exactly what I'm doing with my kid, and making sure that she's pre-educated before she goes out into the hands of, the elementary school education system. My mother did something that I think she like worked my brain, like do this puzzle, like play this game right here. Just a game, mind game, like a game that works your mind, like little game, little intellectual games that you'll be like, that little nerdy ass shit, I'm not giving that to my kid. Like that shit, it trains the brain, you know what I mean? My mother would give us books at a young age. Like I remember the first book that I remember her giving me that really like, I was like, why would she do this? But then later on in life, I knew why she did it. She gave me a book called Man, Child in the Promised Land. I probably was like in 5th grade or something. She's like, just read this book. And it was like a real book about a kid who was bad and got really bad and then figured the shit out and did some really good things in life. And it was just, she was just trying to show me you could take that route or you could take this route, you know what I mean? And it just options. And she would give us a lot of books that would make you a thinker as a kid. And it helped. It really helped. So I still have that appetite to read books, whether they're right now. I really don't like reading make-believe stories because I went through this whole phase in life where I just want to absorb as much as possible of what really happened because all we have is his story. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to figure out what my story is. But in order to get to my story, I got to read all the little versions of his story, And it's just crazy that they named history his story. Mm-hmm. Why can't it just be true story? But that ain't what it is. So you just got to put your own puzzle together of all this shit that's out there and figure it out. And I think that I started diving into just like figuring out what did men do, what are men doing, what are people doing, and that kind of like got me better, like got me to be a better person later in life when I started reading about history. Yeah.
At what point did you start reading about Iceberg Slim?
That's another thing. Like my mother actually turned me on to Donald Goines and
Is that right?
Yes. She was like, read this shit. Like, not to be like you're gonna be a little pimp or nothing, but just like, cause all those books have tragic endings.
Right.
And she was saying, read this as a lesson. Like you read Donald Goines' first book, Dope Fiend. That's a fucked up story.
Was that your inspiration for the song?
No, not at all. I took from a lot of those books the colorful characters, but then I also lived in Oakland, California, and Oakland, California is way more graphic than a Donald Goines book. It's like Donald Goines was writing Detroit stories, but you could just go touch the pavement in Detroit and be in a fucking Donald Goines book. You know what I mean? Like he was really writing his environment. So when you listen to some Too Short, you're really listening to Oakland. And I just think reading those kind of books later in my life helped me to interpret how I wanted to translate street life into music,
Yeah.
And the language of Iceberg Slim, you could read Iceberg Slim, read it, and you fucking be like, man, I heard this in a Too Short song. Like it reverberates in the music. And I don't know if my mother was what her intentions were, but I think she was on some scared straight shit. Like, a mother, she's like, let me give you a book about a dope fiend so you'll never become a dope fiend. How? Because he goes into the dark side of what that habit is, and I promise you, I never wanted to fucking try heroin because of them books.
Yeah.
I never wanted. Man, you could tell me heroin is a $1 million check. I don't give two fucks about. I've read the book about what this does to you, so I would never do it.
Well, man, I appreciate you coming on the show, Short. And
Oh yeah.
if there's anything that we want you to never stop doing is don't stop rapping.
Don't stop rapping.
Don't stop rapping, man.
For sure, for
We
sure.
appreciate you, man. Ladies and gentlemen, Tasha. No more talk.